the cameras flashed, the crowd froze. And just like that, one of Hollywood's most recognizable faces, Sophie Turner, found herself at the absolute center of every single headline.
Hmm.
She pivoted, almost instantly, from a Game of Thrones warrior and pop star wife to the lead character in a very public, very modern divorce drama.
It was an overnight cultural phenomenon, really. Her life, which was already on this accelerated track, marrying young, having children so quickly, was always a source of fascination.
Right.
But the divorce, the fallout from that, it revealed this extreme tension between celebrity privacy and, the public's insatiable appetite for vulnerability.
Welcome to Starscope Report. Join me, Jordan, and my co-host Jamie as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today we are doing a deep dive into the specific events and dynamics that made Sophie Turner such a perpetual subject of media focus. We're not just looking at what happened.
No, we're looking at why. Why her journey has consistently made her the perfect lightning rod for these huge cultural discussions.
And to really understand the scrutiny, you absolutely have to start with the timeline, because it is so dramatically out of step with what we consider, modern norms.
It really is.
She started dating Joe Jonas at 19, was engaged at 21, and then married right after turning 23 in 2019. That is high-speed romance in an era of, extended adolescence.
It's not just fast, it's practically an outlier. When you look at the data now, the average age for a first marriage in the U.S. is creeping up into the early 30s.
Well into the 30s.
So Sophie Turner was already planning a future with someone when most of her peers were still, trying to figure out student loans.
And it just kept going at that pace. They welcomed their first daughter, Willa, when Turner was 24. That was July 2020. Then their second daughter, Delphine, followed just 2 years later.
So by the time the divorce was filed in September 2023, she was only 27.
27 years old. Already been through a marriage, a divorce, had 2 children, and had a decade of just intense global fame behind her. It's a trajectory that is, it's truly unique for her generation.
What I find so fascinating is the public commentary around this timeline. It's this weird mix of shock and almost analytical envy. People are stunned, but then they immediately start trying to rationalize why someone like her can afford to settle down so young.
Oh, exactly. And the consensus on that is really sharp, and it says a lot about our society's priorities. The main point is financial stability and, early career success.
Right.
Because she and Joe Jonas were both set for life financially in their early 20s. All those typical roadblocks that delay marriage and kids for normal people, finishing school, finding a stable job, saving up, they're just gone.
So if you're financially set by 22, you just start thinking about the next stage of life way sooner. It's a luxury timeline, essentially.
Precisely. And that's why we see similar patterns with other young, wealthy celebrity moms like, Kylie Jenner or Gigi Hadid. They can afford 24/7 childcare.
Which means they can travel, keep their careers going.
And as one source pointed out, they can get all their partying out of their system at an early age and just move on to family life without the usual compromises.
But I wonder, isn't labeling her timeline fast just applying a societal judgment? Even with the financial difference, the media often painted her as being more grown up because she started on Game of Thrones so young.
That is a crucial point. There's that 7-year age gap with Joe, and critics, they often zeroed in on that, the difference in life stages when they first started dating.
Yeah.
But because Turner was cast on Game of Thrones as a literal child and put into these really serious adult storylines.
Including sexual violence scenes while she was still in high school.
Right. The public perceived her as having this kind of accelerated maturity that probably wasn't true off-screen. It just forced her to live this highly pressurized, very public life at a very, very young age.
And that pressure to grow up quickly really clashes with the massive life-altering decisions she was making in her early 20s. And that's not even the wildest part about her journey to motherhood. Later, we'll dive into the surprising moment she first learned she was pregnant and why she initially considered another path.
The story she shared in British Vogue is it really illustrates the high stakes of celebrity life and how these incredibly personal vulnerabilities just become public record.
Yeah, she revealed she actually considered abortion after discovering she was pregnant with her first child, Willa.
Can you imagine? She recounts being 24 on a retreat in Bali, of all places, and had just met her roommate for the first time when she told her the news.
I'm pregnant. So nice to meet you.
That kind of high-stakes casualness must have been terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. She confessed that because she felt so young, the idea of abortion crossed her mind, and she sat with that decision for a whole week. She said she eventually just threw the positive pregnancy test at Joe Jonas and asked what they should do.
And what was the pivot point for her? She said that something changed in me that day. I just knew I had to have her. And that moment of realization is so important because it shows that even in the most privileged circumstances, unexpected motherhood can still be profound.
A point that's often totally ignored when the media is just rushing to judge celebrity timelines.
And that deep-seated strength was intensely tested during the divorce, which was filed in September 2023. She admitted she called her lawyer and said, "I can't do this. I just can't." It sounds like she was ready to just fold.
What was the turning point?
She said her lawyer reminded her that she was fighting for my kids. That framing immediately won over public sympathy and gave her narrative so much clarity. The fight transformed from, a messy celebrity split.
Into a mother fighting for her children's stability.
Exactly.
If you're enjoying this deep dive into how fame impacts personal decisions, make sure you're subscribed. We've got more celebrity dynamics coming up, specifically how she navigated a pretty major PR challenge around her motherhood.
This is where that intense scrutiny really intersects with media ethics. So she started filming a new series called Joan, where she plays a single mother.
Okay.
She talked about how the role was giving her strength during the divorce, and then a People headline quoted her discussing the struggle being a single mother.
Oh, which, given her wealth and resources, would become an immediate point of contention.
An absolute firestorm. She had to issue a crucial and immediate clarification. She stated that those comments were about the character, Joan Harrington, not herself.
She had to walk it back.
She did. She publicly said she is very fortunate personally to have a lot of help around me, which is not the case for a lot of people.
That self-correction is really revealing, isn't it? It shows she gets the optics. She knows she cannot claim the identity of a struggling single mother while being backed by immense resources.
It highlights the celebrity privacy paradox perfectly. As a public figure, legally, her privacy is diminished. The law acknowledges that. However, sources point out that journalistic ethics still demand a distinction between genuine public interest, like, say, exposing a crime, and just public curiosity, which is what most of her dating life falls under.
So even though her life is newsworthy, the relentless focus on it is mostly driven by curiosity, not some public necessity. And she found a pretty major way to escape that scrutiny by committing to moving to the UK.
A huge move.
And she even noted, in part, it was because of her opposition to U.S. pro-life laws, saying women's rights are being stripped here.
Moving across an ocean is a drastic measure to reclaim some control. It really reinforces this narrative that she's seeking stability away from the intense U.S. media gaze that fueled all those Jonas divorce headlines.
And speaking of that retreat into British stability, her post-Jonas chapter certainly brought its own shock and twist. The bold headline here is that she moved on to date a British aristocrat.
I mean, talk about a pivot. Her new partner is Peregrine Pearson, the son of the 4th Viscount Cowdray. That makes him the heir to the huge Cowdray estate.
And they were linked just a month after the divorce filing in October 2023.
Right, and this choice of partner, an aristocrat, an heir, it signals such a clear shift away from the Hollywood and pop world glamour. It's like she's moving deeper into the UK establishment, which prizes privacy above almost everything else.
The narrative of this romance has been pretty confusing for the tabloids, though. There was that moment she unfollowed him on Instagram in April 2025.
Oh yeah, that sparked immediate rumors that they'd split.
But then later sightings, including them cuddling at his family's cookbook launch this past September, just put all those rumors to rest.
It seems like the media machine just can't quite pin down the narrative of this relationship. I think it's because it operates under a different set of rules. Aristocratic privacy, not Hollywood transparency.
And at the same time, she's trying to pivot her career in a big way. She's set to star as Lara Croft in the new Tomb Raider series.
Which is a major, high-profile role, possibly her biggest since Game of Thrones.
It is a huge opportunity, but there's also this critical view in the industry that her intense focus on motherhood and her personal life kind of delays any chance of her proving herself outside of the Sansa Stark persona.
That old Hollywood assumption that having kids early slows down career momentum for women.
But she's basically argued the opposite. She says she feels lucky to work on projects that comment on things she has been personally affected by, and that being a mother has affected me more than I can ever say.
That perspective frames motherhood as an artistic asset, not a liability, which is refreshing. Her commitment to the UK, her choice of partner. It all reinforces this idea that she's deliberately finding stability away from the Hollywood churn.
But the irony is still there. Even as she's seeking a more private life, these huge career announcements and, dating very public figures keeps her firmly in the global spotlight.
Ultimately, Sophie Turner's life is this extraordinary case study. It shows how celebrity wealth just accelerates life stages, how personal vulnerabilities are immediately transformed into public discourse.
And how a modern public figure is forced to navigate an intense divorce through strategic clarity, constantly reminding everyone that her kids come first.
Her life forces us to confront the contradiction of celebrity motherhood. Can you really have a private life while also leveraging your personal struggles for professional strength? She tried to control the narrative by being transparent about her help and by literally moving across an ocean.
The lasting question for her, and really for all young, successful women in the spotlight, is this. Can you ever truly own your narrative when every single personal decision, from where you live, who you date, to whether you work, is immediately scrutinized for its cultural significance and boiled down to a catchy, often misleading headline?
You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.